Hi, I'm Jeff Wimmer from Studio Cycles and StudioCycles.com, and in this YouTube session we're going to talk about basic setup for your Schwinn IC Evolution. And what qualifies me to tell you how to set up your bike? I have worked in the bicycle industry for close to 20 years. I've sold thousands and thousands of bicycles one-on-one to customers, from kids' bikes to professional level bikes. Been a mechanic for professional bike racers, and I've raced professionally myself. And I've owned over 100 of some of the best bikes the industry's produced in the last 20 years. But what I'm going to cover with you today is very, very basic. My company, Studio Cycles, we have the only indoor cycling specific retail store in the world where customers come to us and they're able to try new and pre-owned bikes from the big four companies. I've also been a spinning instructor for years, and I've taught hundreds of classes in that respect. So all those things blended, I have a fairly good overview of how a bike should be set up. Although there are dozens, if not hundreds of people online, YouTube, every tube telling you how to set up your bike. If you buy your bike online and you want basic setup parameters, the first order of business is leg extension. And with an indoor cycle, it's same basic parameters as a bicycle. When the foot is on the pedal over, and the ball of the foot is over the spindle, and the pedal is at the bottom dead center of the rotation, you want a slight bend in your leg. The idea is you want your ass firm in the saddle, and you want your legs to be able to extend and return without hyperextension. If your butt's wagging in the saddle or rocking in the saddle, your seat's too high. If your seat's too low, you're really going to work the tops of this muscle group here. So again, just basics. Leg extension first. Bottom dead center, so that when you engage the drivetrain, your legs can extend and return comfortably. And one interesting note, in the bicycle industry, there's a basic belief that, and I don't disagree with this, but it's interesting to me that if you look at the bicycle industry parameters of leg extension and how high the seat should be, a lot of bike shops, a lot of companies will tell you want to get maximum leg extension, which truly, this isn't maximum. I could probably be up another hole, maybe two. But if you look at the professional racers in the Tour de France, they are far from maximum leg extension. I think it's kind of a separate set of rules, but chances are you're not a professional cyclist, you're not riding in the Tour de France, so you kind of have to blend common sense, wisdom, and the advice of whomever it is that you believe. And then, of course, if you have medical conditions, you should talk to your doctor about any type of bike setup as well. So leg extension first, which is here. The second order of business is the saddle position over the rotation of the crank. And the general parameters for that is when the cranks are horizontal, and again, the ball of your foot's over the pedal spindle, you should be able to look from the front of your knee and see sort of an imaginary plumb line from the front of your knee straight down to the pedal spindle or the ball of your foot. This is general. This is general advice. There are 1,000 people online that would debate my advice, but this is basic general advice. So in terms of fore and aft adjustment on the saddle, that's part one, which is ball of the foot, pedal spindle position, knee, cranks, horizontal, imaginary plumb line down into this area or the ball of your foot. Second part of the equation, in my experience, on a stationary bike, is when you're in hand position 2 on the bike, which a lot of handlebars are different, but for the basics, the Star Treks and the Schwinn handlebar layouts are relative. When you're in hand position 2, you should have a little bit of bend in your elbows so that when you're riding the bike, you have upper body movement. You're not straining, you don't have fatigue because things are locked out on your body. So when you're in hand position 2 and you can bend your elbows, you can get that upper body rhythm to go with the leg movement. And this seat we raise it up one more click, I like my seat a little bit lower, but to conform with the parameters of the general public at large, we'll raise it up one. Now when you go to hand position 2, you got that little bit of bend in your elbows, and you can get that upper body rhythm when you're riding the bike. Handlebar height, where should it be? I like a high seat and a low bar like my road bikes, just because the parachute's closed up and that's kind of what I'm used to. But for recreational cyclists and people in spinning classes, in my experience, depending if you're packing a little Samsonite here, you don't want to be bent over and put a fold in the diaphragm, make it hard to breathe. But depending if you have back issues or neck issues, having the handlebar a little bit higher for some folks. Make sure the pop pins are tight, but that's going to put you a little more upright and make the bike a little more comfortable to ride. One thing that I tell people in my store as they get fit and they burn Samsonite or they acclimate to the actual riding of the bike over and over and over, people who buy bicycles who are not serious cyclists tend to want to be upright and comfortable, but when you're completely upright and comfortable, you tend to get spine compression and your torso weight rides on your tailbone. So having your torso a little bit forward is good. The benefit of being on a stationary bike is you can always stretch without worrying about falling over or getting run over by a Greyhound bus. So handlebar height is subjective, and don't be afraid to experiment with the bike. Just remember that if you're brand new to this, it takes time to acclimate and get used to it. Staying on the bike consistently is key. Stretch before you ride your bike, drink plenty of fluids, and always consult with a doctor if you have any type of medical conditions prior to using the bike. Check us out at studiocycles.com. Check out our free bike buyer video for commercial customers and residential customers, studiocycles.com.